parasite-infected meat, and it gives them more strength than any other meat that they eat, even fresh. And then they'll just run down that antelope. The antelope, you see it at the end. The antelope just can't even stand anymore. And the other guy, the natives are there just ready, and they're still going strong. Think about that. The medical profession wants you to be in fear, period. So they get you to believe that wiping your butt, you have to put some kind of deadly chemical on your body so the E. coli won't kill you. It's insane. How many animals do you go around licking each other's butts all day long? Let me tell you, if that was a disaster, there would be no species on the planet. Because everybody does it. Well, a few humans do it, but not many. Think about that. It is garbage. It is trash that they're feeding you. Don't get into it. You get trapped there, you'll be in terrible fear, and then you're going to go for all their poisons. Well, we've got to kill this bacteria. We've got to kill this parasite. It's insane. Those are just janitorial bacteria. Your salmonella, your listeria, Campylobacter. Those are all janitors. They didn't create the mess. They're in there to clean it up. What happens when they go into a site like that? They see a cell being eaten up by this bacteria. They don't tell you that that cell is dead or dying or decayed. There's a heavy problem with that cell. They just say, see, it eats up this human cell. It has a place. It has a time. They want you in total fear and doing whatever they want. Okay, so don't be afraid of bacteria. Don't be afraid of waste. Be afraid of all the antibacterial chemicals that kill your cells along with the bacteria, because your body is 99.5 bacteria. What do you think it's going to do to you? Is ammonia good? Is chlorine good? Is fluoride good? All those things are poison, and they will hurt you. Okay, I can't wait for her. So, the body works very simply. The more sicker we get, the more things we do wrong, the body has to work differently. Everybody's body works as it should not. I'm going to tell you how the body works when you eat properly and take care of it properly. Now we'll start what we need to eat, what humans were designed to eat. Now, how did I discover this? Autopsies, then watching people's taking a certain kind of little tubule absorber that will absorb different foods as they're digested at different times during the intestinal tract. So I used thousands of those over a 10-year period. What I found was, in the mouth, we have more bacteria than dogs and cats, so don't anybody bite anybody. We have more bacteria in our mouth than cats and dogs. The only creature on the planet that has more bacteria than we do in the mouth is a fly. And a fly's digestive juices in the mouth will actually melt your tissue. It is there to just dissolve. It's like hydrochloric acid. We have hydrochloric acid, some of us do, because I have the vagotomy. I do have hydrochloric acid that dumps into my mouth. Bad for teeth, but I have to live with it. So, in the mouth, we have a lot of bacteria. Now, if you put that bacteria, and I've done it, you put it on fruits, all different kinds of fruits, you put it on different kinds of vegetables, you put it on dairy molecules, fats, and I didn't pasteurize anything as they normally do. Whenever they go into a test, they always alter the food to an unnatural state and then do the test. Like all tests on food allergies are all done with a protein taken from a food and processed, not in its whole complete form. So you get a whole different register of how a body's going to react to it. So when you put the bacteria from the human mouth on those different cells, whether it's fruit, vegetables, animal, dairy, meats, whatever it is, that bacteria has an affinity for only animal cells. It doesn't even etch a fruit cell. It doesn't etch a vegetable. We have 2% ptyalin enzyme in the mouth, like the horse. Only a horse has a predominant amount of it. So a horse loves sweet. A horse will eat sugar cane, whereas a cow won't, because it has the digestive enzyme to do it. We only have 2%. That means we can handle about a tablespoon every 3 hours of carbohydrate and process it properly. That's not much. Can't handle much carbohydrate. But animal tissue, animal cells have a great affinity, or that bacteria has a great affinity to animal cells. Then as the food passes into the stomach, what do we have? Hydrochloric acid preponderant. We also have Campylobacter. We have other strong bacteria that are part of that digestive process. Now, when you take the hydrochloric acid from the stomach of a human and you apply it to the fruits and vegetables and animal cells again, whether it be meat or dairy, what does it have an affinity for? Animal cells. Doesn't even touch cellulose, whether it's a fruit or vegetable. Then as we pass into the later part of the stomach, the bile duct is dumping bile into the stomach. To do what? What does bile do? Bile disassembles fat molecules so they can be reassembled into cholesterols to do innumerable things in the body. A third of them are make you strong, to give you strength, to give you energy. A third of them are to protect the body. And a third of them are to cleanse the body. Fats are the most important nutrient in our toxic society. You have 2.5 times more energy from a fat molecule than you do a carbohydrate or protein molecule. You ever seen a skinny weightlifter? You ever seen a skinny wrestler? You have no energy unless you do that. Your bodybuilders, they'll tank up on fats, like Schwarzenegger, when I knew him, tanked up on fats all long before. He'd eat the raw milk, the raw meat, the raw eggs, do it all. And he was Mr. Universe 7 times, the only person in the world that's ever done it. More than 2 times. He did it 7 times. All of these raw foods. And then he bans raw milk when he's a governor. Idiot. You know, he's working for the wrong people. Of course, he was a Nazi like his father. When I knew him, he was a Nazi. Thought like a Nazi. Thought a lot of people should be exterminated. That's the type of man he is. So he was helping exterminate people who eat raw milk, you know, to downgrade its quality. So as the food passes into the intestinal tract, what's predominant there? Bacteria. 90% of all activity in the intestines is bacterial. Only a little bit of hydrochloric acid continues to be produced as needed, and bile also. Now we've got a lot of little villi. You see those little tentacles that are in the ocean, and you see fish go through them. Well, as food particles go through them in your intestines, it measures what they are and what they do. It measures how much hydrochloric acid. Now, hydrochloric acid and digestive juices are to break down the larger clumps of food into smaller substances, like molecules, to get the bacteria in so it can digest all of it. Take an herbivore, take a cow. You look at its feces, it's full of grass, undigested. It's full of hay, undigested. only about 65% of that food is digested, and they've had 24 hours to digest it. I mean 48 hours to digest it. A human only has 24 hours to digest their food before it passes through. Plus an herbivore, a cow and sheep and goat and all of those animals, has 60,000 times more enzymes to disassemble the cellulose molecule to get the fats and the protein from it. So when we put vegetables in our systems, we only digest 2%, and not well. That's why the food community, the food industry says, we'll cook it and we'll process it for you and you'll digest it more. But in what form? How much energy and health is it going to give you? Well, we see very little. We've got a ramp. We have more disease than third world countries. We have more cancer than any other country in the world in America. America is the most diseased state in the world, country in the world. That's not a good evidence that the medical profession and the health community nor the food industry knows what they're doing. However, we've got the King and Queen of England that runs almost all the food on the planet, food processing. They own 70% of all the food processing in the world through trusts. They own Purina, Kellogg, all of the major companies in the U.S. and all of the world, in India, everywhere. King and Queen of England. Yet, you get served nothing but raw milk and raw foods in the royal house. They have their own cows, and their cows are special cows, best cows in the world. My grandparents got their herd from the Queen in 1860. My grandparents were orators and judges to the czars of Russia and Germany. And they went over and bought 12 of the Queen's herd. And these jerseys are as big as Clydesdale horses. Each one produces 22 gallons of milk a day. 11 gallons at a milking, Clydesdale. Think about that. These cows are absolutely gargantuan. My head would come up to the back of one of these cows. That's how big they are. They're gargantuous. And the milk is extraordinary. But you can only get them if you have some kind of relationship to the Queen. And she only lets so many out of her herd a year. She's starting to not do that anymore. She's starting to butcher them for meat and not let her herd get out. But here she is in charge of most of the food processing in the world, and it isn't good for anybody. She doesn't treat her own that way. You know? So you have to look at what these people do who run industry. It's all about the money and shelf life. They don't care about your health. So, as this food goes through your intestinal tract, 90% of bacteria is active. Only 10% is supposed to be enzymes and digestive juices. Are you cool enough there? You can always go over there. Because that's very hot. We're in the sun. There's a couple chairs here, 3 chairs here. Another really soft, nice chair over here. So remember that, let's say you swallow your food, you take a big chunk and swallowing a piece of meat like a dog or a cat. You're not a dog or a cat. A dog and a cat has 15 times the hydrochloric acid in their stomach, so they can dissolve that and break it down into small liquid molecules for the bacteria to eat. If you swallow big chunks like that, you're going to be secreting hydrochloric acid all the way through the intestinal tract, and by the time you get to the end, you're not going to digest it all. So your body uses enzymes and digestive juices to make larger particles of food into smaller particles so that they can be digested, eaten and digested by bacteria. Bacterial waste is our food. The urine, feces, and sweat of bacteria is our food. Get all of that icky, frightened bacteria stuff out of your whole system. It will panic you into doing stupid things like poisoning yourself with medication, period. We are 150 bacterial genes to every one human gene. We are bacteria. Don't be afraid of bacteria. If it were a problem, I would be dead 1,000 billion times. Because I eat really rotten stuff frequently. Not all the time, it's not all my diet. But let's say I'm going to do, normally I don't do any exercise. Carry my groceries once a week, as I said, and I'll get up in front of a group a couple times a month, and I'll stand up here for sometimes 11 hours. I like to have a lot of high energy for that. So I had my high meat this morning. I left my meat out at 6 o'clock last night, ate it at 9 o'clock this morning. Charge myself up. I will have enough energy to go through. I will have clarity of mind to get through this without losing anything. You've seen that I've already danced around the subject, left the subject, danced around it to tell you adjacent stories, and then come right back to where I was when I started to complete it. My mind can think complex as long as I feed it this good, healthy food. When I ate bad food, I had trouble making sentences and words, much less doing complex things consciously. So all the way through the intestinal tract, the main activity that's transpiring is bacteria is eating the food. Its waste is our nutrients. They get absorbed. Those nutrients get absorbed into the lacteal system. So we've got the small intestine that weaves its way back and forth all the way down here, connects at the ileocecal valve, going up the bowel, ascending colon, transverse bowel, and down the descending. So it'll be held up in the sigmoid colon for a while to absorb everything that's been digested and then passes out when the body's satisfied with what it's derived from. In that process, it's all bacterial. It gets absorbed into the lacteal system. The lacteal system is a web network, like a massive spider web that leaves the intestinal tract and delivers it to the lymphatic system. Now, they call it the lacteal system because everything, if you've digested a blackberry, and after the bacteria digest it, it is a clear milk substance, just like milk. So they call it lacteal, meaning milk. Then the lymphatic system breaks it down further into other nutrients. And its nutrient description is translucent fluid. Now the lymph system is a fluid system that runs through the body like the blood and neurological fluids, very complex network. However, it's endowed with two purposes, two chores to do. It is supposed to feed every cell in the body except for the red and white blood cells, except for the bloodstream. It'll help clean the bloodstream, but most of the white blood cells do that. And it's supposed to clean every waste from the body. It's supposed to take dead cells, dissolve them into a fluid substance, dump it in the connective tissue to be perspired out of the body. 90% of the body's waste is supposed to lead to the skin, the largest organ of the body. 90% is supposed to lead to the skin. So anybody who gets rashes, acne, skin cancer, what it is, whatever it is, their body's getting rid of garbage through the skin. It's a good thing. If it stays in the body, it's going to create more damage. If it goes to the intestinal tract, if it does that to the skin, what's it going to do to the intestinal tract? Then all of a sudden you're not digesting anything. And then you're on your way to a fast, deteriorated state and onto the other side, out of this body. So, that lacteal system and the lymph system have their jobs like everything else. Now, what happened in the 60s? We were given the garbage information that animal fats were bad and vegetable oils were good. Let's take a look at it. You take a vegetable oil, you apply the hydrochloric acid to it, you apply our mouth bacteria, you apply the bile to the vegetable oil, and does it break it down? 2%. Again, you apply those things to animal fats, break them down, disassemble them quickly. So we were told a big lie. And where does the vegetable oil come from? Vegetation. What animals eat vegetation? Herbivores. Entirely different system. You put their bacteria and their digestive juices with animal fats, they don't break them down properly. You put their digestive juices and bacteria with vegetation, and it breaks it down wonderfully. That's the way to tell what an animal can eat and what it can't. You have to see what factually that bacteria breaks down, what those enzymes break down, what those digestive juices disassemble. So, the lymphatic system has a very important part in the body. It is the main problem in cancer. Dead cells have to be dissolved. If dead cells aren't dissolved, what would you do with dead matter or with anything that you had that was accumulating? You put it in a storage area. Try to build it up, bury it, do something. Well, that's what the body does. It builds tumors to hold these dead cells until the body can make a substance to dissolve those cells, or your body can create a parasite, a bacteria, a fungus to dissolve, eat that matter. So parasites are good. It was discovered at University of Toronto 28 years ago by a laboratory student and technician, an experimenter, that if you took the barotoxin, they call it because that's their judgment, if it comes from E. coli fecal matter, it's got to be a toxin. So they call the waste of barotoxin. Yet she took it and she completely reversed brain tumors in 5 days. Injected the barotoxin into the brain tumors and they completely dissolved in 5 days. Why isn't that all over the planet? Why aren't we using that? Yeah. No money. There are, every patient, right now, the average is $280,000 per cancer patient. You go and inject a $5,000 dose of E. coli or have somebody eat shit and live, there's no money in that. E. coli is one of the main bacteria in the intestines. It breaks down the finite molecules of fat and protein to feed the brain and the nervous system. Oh, but E. coli is a bad thing. It'll kill you. So a lot of New Age researchers have said, wait a minute. E. coli is not a bad thing. What are you talking about? So then they had to come up with this E. coli 157H7. And what happens? I got a hold of the 150H7 from a university in Northern California. They got their sample from CDC and the FDA. Well, I took that E. coli 157H7 and applied an enzyme to it that always fractionates bacteria. Now, when it fractionates, it takes it apart in 5 places. It's like if I put it on you, your head comes off, your arms go off, your legs come off. That's what happens with this enzyme with any natural bacteria. However, with 157H7, it splits right in the middle. That means that it's a man-made bacteria spliced together. Man-made, genetically altered, modified. So the health departments and the food industry and the medical industry are using it as a demon that they created to say it's going to take your life over and kill you. It doesn't even occur naturally. It is planted in our system. It is planted in injections that go into people. When you get an injection, not even the doctor has a clue what's really in that injection. The worst thing you can do is get an injection of anything. Because nobody knows what's in those. No one knows what's in each one. What the CIA and the NSA did in the 60s, they hired technicians at university, and they had to work on war tactics, and they had them trying to create bacterias, viruses, all kinds of things that would attack the body of soldiers, immobilize them, and then they would win. Bacterial warfare. So at UCLA in 1961, they created a solvent that they called a virus, and it was the AIDS virus. 1961, UCLA. Documented evidence proving it. The UCLA technicians who developed it said that it was to form cancer in laboratory animals to study cancer. Yet the information went directly to the War Department. Immediately within a week of its proven ability to debilitate the human body and to cause mass problems, it went to the War Department. The War Department got a license to use it on undesirables, terrorists in the United States. They picked homosexuals. So they picked San Francisco, Los Angeles, Houston, Texas, and New York City. And they put this chemical in the hepatitis B vaccine in those cities. This is the NSA, this is the War Department, this is the CIA working together to do this. So, they put it in the hepatitis B vaccine because they found that homosexuals in those cities were the prominent people getting hepatitis. So they went to their pharmaceutical buddies and said, anybody who has hepatitis has to get a hepatitis B vaccine. And then we had only 10% of the people, heterosexuals, who got AIDS. 90% of them were homosexual. They targeted them. Then, in the 70s and early 80s, they decided to use it in Africa. So, the King and Queen of England, the government of the UK, and the American government paid for 185 million doses of smallpox-infected AIDS bacteria. So that's when we had 125 million cases of AIDS. Then they went on to do the Ebola, documented by Dr. Leonard Horowitz. Strecker was the one who Dr. Strecker was the one who documented that the AIDS virus was created at UCLA, and his brother, who was an attorney with a senator from Wisconsin, I believe it was, or Minnesota, went for the Freedom of Information Act and got all that documentation from the War Department and how they put it in the hepatitis B vaccine document. Man-made diseases that they use those diseases to scare the hell out of you, to sell more prophylactics, to do all this garbage about AIDS, when the only way you can get it is having it injected into you with a transfusion or a direct chemical inundation. You can't even eat it and get it. It has to be injected into your blood, into your muscles, or somewhere in your body, where it can start dissolving the system, breaking it down, tearing it apart. It's not a virus. It is a chemical assault created by UCLA. Ebola was created at Millhouse Laboratories in New York. They want you to be terrorized and do whatever they say. Poison yourself, be slaves to whatever it is. So, the body does not have, the next myth I'm going to try to burst for you. My mother hated the word bust, it was burst. Okay. So my mother's still in my head and she died this year. That's scary. So, I'm going to burst the bubble of another myth. And that is, anybody guess? Anybody psychic here?
Cholesterol.
Pardon?
Cholesterol.
Well, cholesterol, yeah, that's a good one. No, but the myth that you are going to have a problem with nature in any way. That is the ultimate myth. Nature is out to get you. You have to be afraid of nature. That is their ultimate goal. And they do everything they can. They've got ticks now. They say give you Lyme disease. Well, if you've got a disease that you can label spirochetes, where are the spirochetes? And people who have spirochetes don't have the symptoms that are so-called Lyme disease. You have to go through 5 tests to say, maybe you have Lyme's disease. It's all crap. No, crap's good for you. It's all lie. It's all fraud. So think about that. Don't be afraid of what's around you in nature. Be afraid of industrial pollution. That is your enemy. All cancers, all disease is created by industrial behavior. Even if it's cooking your food. Cooking your food is an industrial act that destroys nature. People say to me, well, what if I just sear my meats? 30 seconds. Let me sear your arm. Is that good? 30 seconds? No, you've lost 3 layers of skin. You've lost 2 layers of muscles in 30 seconds. What do you think it's doing to your food? Our digestive process is to break down those molecules of healthy, solid nutrients to reutilize in the system in a human cellular form. Anytime you destroy anything, you're creating toxins. Just on a ordinary level where you check for byproduct toxins from cooked foods, we have 3 main toxins that are identified as carcinogens. That means cancer causing in an animal. Acrylamides from cooked processed carbohydrates, heterocyclic amines from cooked processed meats, and lipid peroxides from cooked processed fats. Then you have 29 other subdivisions of those 3 toxins. I named all 32 of them in the last 50 pages of my recipe book, for those who are interested in the science. I don't put hardly any science in my first book. It's about foods getting well, doing what it takes. If you've got the mindset to have to learn how this really works so I can free my mind up to do this stuff, you'll find it in my recipe book, the last 50 pages. How all the science I can pull up to prove what I have to say about the raw foods and even the meats works. Proven. So, myth is Nature's out to get you. Your own body's going to attack you. So, a sub-myth of the major myth is an immune system. We have an immune system. We have a system that automatically braces itself against stuff in your body. Absolute crap. We have a simple system, which is the lymphatic system, which cleans waste and toxins that don't belong there out of the body. Simple. There's no army, there's no immune system. It's just a cleansing process. But they will get you to believe your body's attacking itself. No, the chemicals from industrial contamination, all the 60,000 chemicals that now go into food and food processing, and all of the 120,000 chemicals that are now in medication, those cause your problem. Always. No animal in nature who has not had its food encroached upon and altered has disease. They eat one another well and healthy. There is no disease in those animals. There are 4 tribes on the planet up until the great 12-year now drought that decimated the Maasai tribes. There were 4 tribes on this, known tribes on this planet that lived only on raw milk and raw meat. That's it, raw milk and raw meat. 2 products. The Fulani lived on 95% raw dairy, 5% cooked meats, and they only ate cooked meat once a month. But they'd eat a lot of it at one time. The Samburu lived on 70% raw milk and 30% raw meat. No disease, no dental caries, no tooth decay. Can you imagine going through all of your life with good teeth, never having a cavity, till the day you die? You're able to eat all through your aged life. It's pretty phenomenal. And the Maasai tribe, 65% dairy, 35% raw meats. None of these tribes had any diseases whatsoever. Eskimo, same way. The Inuit that still live in the wild that eat only raw foods. The first case of dental caries in the Eskimo was discovered in 1889 from an Eskimo that had lived in the British colony there in Alaska. It was in, I can't remember which, I think it was Juneau. Had lived 50 years there eating cakes and sugars. The first case of cancer was discovered in the Eskimo in 1936, and that family had lived in the Caucasian communities there, eating all the same foods that they did and eating nothing of their tribal nature for 75 years. Take a look at that. Very important information. And did anybody see that issue in 1971 in National Geographic that showed a tribe that lived to 150 years old in Georgia, Russia? You will never see it published again because they don't want you to know it. They interviewed people, National Geographic. This was a completely legitimate, they have recorded, filmed, they did everything. It's all destroyed. Only way you can find that article is to find the National Geographic somewhere between January and June, I think it was February or June of that year, 1971. And they have people interviewing this tribe, people in this tribe. And one couple was together 128 years, and they got married when they were in their early 20s or mid-20s. We can barely stand to live with a person for 5 years, much less 128 years. Why? Because we are not well. Our bodies and our psyches are unsatisfied. We have a tendency to blame all those around us. If they don't make us feel good, we blame them. We have to get away from them, so we push them away because we are not well. These people were well. They loved each other. They loved their families, their neighbors, everybody. They interviewed a man that was out 138 years old, still working on a horse, plowing the fields. Think about that. Isn't that a wonderful society? Why don't we get that information? Because it doesn't serve industry. It doesn't serve the King and Queen of England with her food manufacturing. It doesn't serve anybody in the restaurant business unless they have a raw food restaurant. And there's only 1% of those on the whole planet. And those are major restaurants. We're not talking about including McDonald's and all the crap food places. And does anybody see Super Size Me, the movie?
No.
Super Size Me in the movie is this 27-year-old guy who decides that he's going to prove that McDonald's is good food and eats nothing but McDonald's for 30 days. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. By the 10 days, this guy is violently ill. He is having diabetic symptoms, passing out, vomiting, diarrhea, everything. He stuck it out for the whole 30 days. He was a psychological basket case and very ill. Think about that. Well, then they interviewed several of the executives of McDonald's, and McDonald's does. That guy says, well, you're not supposed to eat only McDonald's. There are other food sources and other food needs on the food pyramid. You can't get them all at McDonald's, you know. So eat at McDonald's 3-4 days a week. That was his comment.
You wouldn't eat it once per day.
Think about that. It's insane. If you can't live on it 10 days without violent reactions, you shouldn't be eating any of it at all. Good food will never make you feel badly. Now, the first tribe that I got to, and this was a difficult process, I went to the Philippines, heard that there were very primitive tribes still living in the old ways, and there are 7,107 islands in the Philippines. Islands that have never been walked on by a Caucasian anywhere in the world, anybody but their native tribes on those islands. So I wanted to go investigate them. This is 3 years ago. So I went to Davao on Mindanao, the biggest island there next to Luzon. Luzon's way up there, that's the northernmost island, and then Mindanao is the lowest. More tribes around there, less population. So I went to the government to get permission, and they said, most of those tribes are cannibals, they'll eat you. I said, this isn't New Guinea, and this isn't 100 years ago. I doubt that. And they said, oh, we know. We've lost many people. You know, so they never come back. I said, maybe it's better there. Maybe they don't want to come back. They did not like anything I said. So I was there almost every day, every weekday for 3 weeks. They refused to. In fact, they got so upset with me, they called Budget Rental Car and all the rental cars in Mindanao and said, do not rent a vehicle to this man, Aajonus Vonderplanitz. So I was banned from getting a vehicle. I had to go find a driver with his own vehicle to take me places. So I was very frustrated and upset that I wasn't going to get permission from the government. So I went to a spa, a health spa, a legitimate health spa, and to get a massage, a legitimate massage. And the receptionist was a Filipino girl, pretty dark, and there was a bassinet behind her with her baby. Month and a half, 2 months old maximum. White as a white t-shirt. I mean, white as white, and her blouse back there. And the baby barely breathed, barely moved. And I knew it wasn't asleep. And I thought it was a big problem. I looked down at her picture that she had on the desk there, and her husband with the baby, he was black as the ace of spades. A very native Filipino. And she was dark and this baby is white. And I said, maybe she had sex with a white person. But she didn't. This baby had severe leukemia. And I said, well, what do you feed the baby? And she says, oh, the doctors put us on the best food, powdered milk in boiled water. My head went into my hands. And I said, according to the research of Dr. Francis Pottinger, back in the 40s and 50s, who put 900 cats for 10 years on raw and cooked diets, found that powdered milk created more diseases, 2,300 diseases, and caused the most severity of all diseases, especially diabetes. So I said, your baby's going to die, sweetheart. So I had made a connection on an island, only a ferry ride, a 20-minute ferry ride away. Got on the ferry, went to the dairy, got her 6 liters of milk, brought them back, gave them to the mother, and she started feeding the baby. In 3 days, the baby's color was black. No more anemia, no more leukemia. Just in 3 days from eating the raw milk. But the doctor said that the baby was allergic to milks and I have to give it only powdered. Obviously it was bullshit. Doctors should never say a thing about food because they don't have a clue. They don't know anything about food. It doesn't occur in any of their medical training. It's all their training is about drugs. Period. That's what their training is about. Drugs, administering drugs, diagnosing on what drugs that the person needs. So the grandfather was so happy that the milk brought the child around. He said, whatever you want here in Mindanao, I will make it manifest. I work for the government. I am a trusted tribe, a correspondent, because I used to be a tribe member only 30 years ago. I said, I want to visit one of the remote tribes and find out how they eat. I want to observe them. I don't have to take photographs. I just want to study them. And he said, well, I came from a very remote tribe. We eat just like you. They ate just like you did. I don't eat that way anymore. I have a cousin who just left the tribe 7 years ago. He still knows who's available, who's living there. I will go get permission from the government and we will go there. He didn't contact me after 2 days. He said, I'm working on it, we'll get it done soon. Get ready in 2 days, we'll go. 7 days went by, didn't contact me. I knew something wrong. So I called him and I said, what's happening? He said, they won't let me take you. They won't do it. They just won't do it. He said, but I'm going to take you anyway. So we got a 4-wheel drive, and we went a whole day's trip in a 4-wheel drive, and then we had to go on a boat trip for a day, and then we had to swim for almost a whole day, almost 1.5 kilometers. So we had to do it in stages, swimming, to get there. And I get there, and this tribe eats 2 foods. Big, strong, 80 years old, looked like he was 45. The women in their late 60s looked like they were in their late 20s, early 30s. All had perfect teeth except for one woman who had a scar right here, so obviously lost a tooth from swinging off of something and landing somewhere and knocking the tooth out. Perfect teeth, ate 2 foods. Guess what those foods were? Raw fish and coconut. Raw fish. It shoots the hell out of all those pyramids, food pyramids that are trash. They're designed to keep the Queen and the King of England happy with all their cereals that they own all over the world. Got to keep eating cereals. That's the main top of the pyramid. Carbohydrate cereals. Absolute malarkey. 2 foods. And I thought, my concept was that because when I'd eat fish, I'd lose more weight. I could eat tons of fish and lose weight. Probably because of all the adulterations I've had from the medical. These guys were eating fish, and they were thick and huge and big and strong and calm and happy. It was amazing. And yet, I take a look at the Maasai tribe. They're the strongest, thinnest, smartest, happiest tribe in the world. They were before the 12-year drought. These guys are up to 8 feet tall, 8 feet 4. And they're skinny as can be, and they live on red meat, no fish. So my idea was all contorted. I thought, oh my God, fish can do this, make such big, strong bodies. So I was impressed. 2 foods. Well, I have to say 3 foods. One other category of food. But they only ate that once a week, once every 2 weeks. They either had a mango, a green mango, or a green banana. Never a ripe fruit. Only one of those. And that was just occasionally. It wasn't even 1% of the diet. So they lived on 2 foods. Thrived on 2 foods. And the one guy that had gone off for 30 years, the grandfather of that little child, in the conversation, of course, so this is all translated. We had to go through 3 translations from the native language to Tagalog to English. And the other said, well, don't you want all the radios, the TVs, all this stuff to keep all the kids busy? And they said, we don't have a problem with the kids. All the kids are happy. Everybody lives in retirement. We go fishing every day. We build a few things like this. We may help each other rebuild our, structures that get blown away once in a while. And we groom each other, and we just sit around and breathe together. What a paradise. What a paradise. We got to have all these things because we're so unhealthy, we can't be satisfied unless we're distracted from our misery. And our misery is a lack of health, period. Because in all those tribes, there was never a problem. The Maasai and the Eskimo were considered the happiest tribes in the world, and they ate the most raw meats. Eskimo didn't have milk. The Maasai tribe did. So different statures. Eskimo were small. They didn't get all the bacteria year-round. They only got it. So they didn't grow like the Maasai, who were in the sunshine all the time. Then the 12-year drought came in. Now they're eating garbage, waste food from the King and Queen of England. Cereals that they can't sell, and powdered milk. And that's what these people are being fed. And the tribes are decimated now. The Maasai tribe is almost wiped out. 12-year drought. Who caused the 12-year drought? According to what I understand, the UK government has been seeding that area not to develop rain clouds. So think about that. They want all that oil and all of those diamonds and ruby mines that the Maasai own and have claim to. So they decimate it and they take everything. They have to own the planet. Enough is not enough. Too much is not enough. More than you need is not enough. It's insane. And these are sick people that think like that. Why? Because they're always exposed to pollution. They're screwing up their mind. Maybe there's some evil out there, evil spirit. I don't know if I believe in that, but there may be a part of it. I don't know. And some of those people must be pretty evil. But as far as I see, it's all illness. It's all sickness because of manufacturing. processing things and the chemicals that get into people and cause deranged thinking, deranged moods, and attitudes. My mother grew up in a family of 13 children, 12 brothers and sisters, and they all got along. My mother had 4 boys, and we hated each other. And we had everything. My father invented the first buried computer when he was in college at Purdue. The first buried computer. We had everything, and we were the unhappiest. We had all the technology. We had the first microwaves. We had the first TVs. He was a scientist for General Electric. And I mean, we had everything. All these chemicals, every time we had a problem, off to the doctor, medications. We were all sick. We were all toxic. We all got all of the new canned foods in the 40s and 50s. All that new stuff. What's in canned food? Well, you've got chemical preservatives. Now you have tin with thallium and mercury and lead in that tin going into the food. What do you think could cause tonsillitis? What do you think caused polio? Metal going in and deteriorating the brain and nervous system and the throat. What do the tonsils do? I'm going to get back to the body in a minute. You're working my way right back there. The tonsils are there to pull any poisons out of the food that you're eating. And it's just an extension of the lymphatic system. Those tonsil glands are almost identical in behavior to a lymph gland. So it takes that substance. Now it started deteriorating the actual glands themselves. Oh, you got tonsillitis. Let's rip out the toxin. Not eliminate what caused it, which is canned food. It was rip the tonsils out. Let the brain go toxic with metals, because the tonsils prevent heavy metals and other toxins from going into the brain. Scientists theorize about our big brains. Biggest brains on the planet except next to whales. Smartest people, smartest brains on the earth. But you take a look at it, even Einstein only used 12% of his brain. What is the rest of the brain used for? The brain is 60-80% fat. Where does the body store its poisons? In fat. So, the brain is a suction storage place for toxins that would normally dissolve and damage the brain, the rest of the body. So think about that. We're not so smart, are we? We can't live in peace. We have wars over oil, and we kill people over food and money. Pretty sick. How sick do you want to be? How healthy do you want to be? That's up to you.